Welcome everybody, this is Brothermutant here. Today we're going to continue on our quest to find another Arcane Bloodline build that can directly compete with a different bloodline for the Eldritch Scion. In this case, we're competing with the Serpentine Bloodline. Now if you recall from that video, we went kind of a skill monkey route. The reason for that will be evident when we actually get into the build. Let me actually load us up. I don't want to level the process up. It took too long to do the video that way, so we're going to skip ahead to the pre-made build. I will show you how we level up though, so that's still the thing. It's just faster this way, guys. Trust me, the last time I did this video yesterday was like 2.5 hours long, and we don't want any of that. Plus it gets us a little jump start ahead of fighting some of the bad guys. Not that I particularly care, but everything dies so damn quickly on the snapper steps for the first 4 levels or so. It's kind of garbage. So here's our character, and to point out how we started off, we had a 16 for charisma, the highest we'll ever get, not counting gear, of course, which is pretty garbage, quite frankly. But the other guy had the same, so we wanted to keep reasonably to the same thing. I would never, just so we're clear, do this for someone that's the Arcane Bloodline. It's because we're competing with it that we're doing this. Normally, an Arcane Bloodline lends itself to having maxed out charisma. So you have maxed out DC checks, you have massive amounts of spells, and of course you can benefit from those high DC checks. So this is just crazy talk when you do it this way. But again, if you want to, this is perfectly a valid build, and I'm going to show you why. 10 for wisdom, that's normal. Intelligence is upgraded right now because of Fox's cunning that's on us because we clicked an altar. But we finished with a 14, we started with a 13. That is actually different than the half-orc Serpentine Bloodline build. He had a 12 intelligence from start to finish. Instead, he had a 13 dex that went up to 14, so he'll have better armor. He'll also have better reflexes, as well as a better chance to hit with things like raise spells and crossbows and things of that nature. Slight difference, he also had dodge because he could get it, and had access to another feat, which I suggested but didn't take. This is like precise strike or some such. This is one of those teammate ready feats, ones that, like, if you and the teammate has the same feat, then you both benefit from it, which in the teammate build is a valid option for those that want to go solo or hate having to have your teammates rely on having the same skills as you. It's kind of weird, so I don't normally pick those, as you probably have already surmised. However, I switched it for another reason. One is when I did that last build for the Serpentine Bloodline build, I felt kind of lackluster in the fact that we didn't have any skill in things like knowledge or lore. If you recall from that build, all those ended up with a straight 0. No points invested, which means they're not even unlocked. You can't use them, which is fine. Again, you are on a team. You just have someone on the team that has those skills, and again, you're fine. In this case, because we're Arcane Bloodline, it felt weird not getting Knowledge Arcana up. Well, then something had to suffer. In my case, it was stealth. You notice that stealth here is up, but again, it's only because greater invisibility is on our character. Otherwise, I have invested nothing in stealth. So the ones that suffered in this pass was lore, nature and religion, knowledge world, and stealth. Didn't get anything. And because we had extra points, because our intelligence went from 12 to 14, so something that the half-orc didn't have, we put those other points in athletics and knowledge arcana. So again, stealth moved to athletics, and then knowledge arcana got the extra 10, if you will, that I got from having an extra bump to my intelligence. That was meaningful for me. That was really necessary. Otherwise, it's almost identical to the other guy. Differences still exist. For instance, the other guy had higher dex than me. That's going to be something that will benefit his mobility. That's something that will benefit his stealth, and that's something that will benefit his trickery. The other guy had half-orc as his race. As such, he gets a bonus to his persuasion in the form of +2 to his intimidation checks. Now, it's not something you'll see in the stats here, even in his build. However, when you do make an intimidation check, you'll see an extra +2 as a result, so his persuasion stat will be slightly higher. Moreover, he had a pet, a familiar. They get the Serpentine Friend, or Serpent's Friend, something like that is what the name of it. It shows up at like level 3. So one of the only Eldritch Scion bloodlines that get a familiar, which is kind of cool. One of the reasons I was like, wow, that's a little interesting. Because they get that, he gets a bonus to persuasion +3 that we're not getting. And he'll +2 to perception. Now you'll notice that I do have a familiar. I could have taken the same familiar as him, which again felt weird. So I decided to do something again that's slightly different. I went monkey familiar. One, because I never tried it. I wanted to see what it did. And again, it's on you to change up the familiar if you want. Persuasion is important, and it was necessary for this build, but so was mobility. It's something that he got in spades because of another ability that he got for being the Serpentine Bloodline. That little bastard gets a +2 to mobility thanks to his, I want to say snake skin is what it's called. It's a feat that he gets as he levels up. And it's also gives him natural armor enhancement, so +1, +2, and then finally +3. He gets a bonus to his fortitude saves against poison, little bastard. And then he gets +2 to all the way up to a +4 for his mobility. So again, another thing that he's going to get that we don't. So there's a lot of pluses that the Serpentine Bloodline build has. So it's not that the Serpentine Bloodline is insufficient in any stretch of the imagination. We went strength-based build, which may have been a judgment call, but it's, again, dexterity made more sense to me, I suppose. But I've never really seen a highly dexterous half-orc, so it made no sense. So that's why we went strength. And I do like strength because, as I probably mentioned in that video, you only need strength that's really high and power attack. That's good, and then you're done. You don't need things like weapon finesse, and then piranha strike, and then slashing grace or fencing grace, and of course a weapon focus to go with that, because that's the only way to get those things. So it's a lot to ask of somebody that's feat start to go, oh, well, let's do dex-based build. So you get a lot of bang for your buck for dex-based build, don't get me wrong, and there's plenty of agile weapons out there. That's the weapon that converts your dexterity bonus into damage for your attack. That's ideal, obviously, but you can't rely on just getting them every time you walk out the door. So again, it's kind of odd. So we went strength-based build. We did the same here. On that, we kept our strength the same. We started off with a strength of 18. We invested 4 points in it. So we actually finished at a 22, and you can see I'm at 24 because I have a belt on right now. But that's the point, is I literally put 1 point in intelligence, taking it from 13 to 14, and then the last 4 points went into strength. So that's really how we leveled this character up. Notice that our mobility is decent thanks to Monkey Familiar. The breastplate is penalizing us right now, but of course we have the spell Effortless Armor that can take away the penalty up to a -5. So you get 5 points back, so to speak, for athletics, mobility, and stealth if they're impeded by your armor, which in almost every case they would be. Now there are exceptions to the rule. For instance, if you're wearing a full plate mail, you would have a -6 penalty. Obviously you had cast a spell, that -6 drops down to a -1. So there's still a penalty, but it's a lot less, and it's a lot more manageable. And again, yes, you can take off your armor to do those athletics and mobility checks in many cases, not all. Stealth being another example of one that you can't clearly stealth with the armor off, because why would you? That's just silly. And in our case, we're relying on invisibility spells, vanish, invisibility, and greater invisibility to get us through, because we have no stealth otherwise. So we straight up suck with stealth. But well, a solid perception just like his, and again the +2 Monkey Familiar is just like the +2 that he gets for his Serpent's Friend, his Viper Familiar. Persuasion again is hampered by that no intimidation from being a half-orc, and because we're not human, and no +3 thanks to the Viper Familiar. So again, we're lower here, but that was necessary to kind of make up for the lack of mobility. And our mobility is close to his, it's just not the same. It's down by 2 points compared to his. One is because of the dex difference, and the other one is because he got a +4 from Snakeskin, where we're getting a +3 from Monkey Familiar. So we're close, but not the same. Where we excel is things like athletics. He had 1 point invested in athletics, if I recall, giving him a +4, not counting his strength. With his strength at a 22, what is that, a 6? So he was probably finished at a 10. Am I doing the math on that right? 22, 10, 6. Yeah, I think I got that right. 6 and 4, 10. Yeah, so he should have a +10 here, whereas we're at a solid +20. As you can see, we have more, or actually 19, sorry. We'd have the same strength as him, the same armor that he'd have, but instead of investing 1 rank, we invested 9, so we'd have 9 more points than he did. So again, his 10 to our 19. So again, we do pretty good for ourselves for athletics checks, which is again important. While this is not a solo build, this is a build you can take solo, and again, you will do so in chapter 1, you'll probably do so again in chapter 2, and that's probably about as far as you're going to want to take that. But that's why athletics, mobility, and trickery were important to me. So those are going to be ones you want to invest in early on. Remember though, based on the build, we're going to need to get persuasion up to a 6 ranks invested as soon as possible. Why? Because we're going to get Cornigan Smash, and it's necessary to unlock it. So that's very, very key and important. Everything basically here that you see that's been unlocked will have 10 points in it, not counting stealth here because it's not been unlocked. So 10 points in athletics were invested, 10 in mobility, 10 in persuasion, 10 in trickery, 10 in use magic device, 20 in perception. So from start to finish, perception always gets points. Notice that they're higher than they are, and again, part of that is because of these feats that we picked up. Here's Deft Hands. The reason to go 10 is because if you invest any points in them, you get a +2 based on whatever they bump. In this case, Deft Hands bumps Use Magic Device and Trickery, so you'll see it 2 times. But you'll see they're at +4. That's why you need to invest 10. If you invest at least 10 skill points, not have a total of 10, like actually put 10 points in there, you get a +4 instead of a +2. And in this case, we get it in 2 different categories. Deft Hands benefits Use Magic Device and Trickery. Trickery also has Deceitful in it. You notice that it has a +4. That benefits not only Trickery, but Deceitful also benefits Persuasion. Yep. And then we got Persuasive, which benefits not only Persuasion, but also Perception. So again, something that the other guy did too, nothing different there. He also had one called Stealthy, which we did not take, and I'll show you what we traded up for that. But Stealthy was the one that if you invest 10 points in Stealth and Mobility, you get 4 points in Stealth, 4 points in Mobility. Now you see why he's actually way better than us at Mobility. Not only did he have a +1 thanks to his Dexterity, he'll have another +1 thanks to his Snakeskin compared to our Monkey Familiar, and then he had another +4 because of that feat. So he was actually 6 points higher in Mobility than us. Again, another reason I wanted Monkey Familiar, because we are really going to be missing out on that Mobility if it weren't for that. I took away the Stealth. Again, nothing that can be done about that, but Greater Invis is more than enough to get us by with what I wanted to do on this build. The real bonus to us also is the fact that we have Knowledge Arcana unlocked, and as well as 10 points invested in it. And while there's no skill that I use to unlock it and make it better, like we've done with things like Persuasive and Deceitful, and etc. and so forth, having 10 points in it with a high intelligence like we have, we did pretty good for ourselves. And it is a class skill, so the little green check mark is that solid +3 as well. So I'm happy with that. This is probably the least important stat for you to level up. Maybe put a point in it to unlock it, and as you feel like you're doing the checks in the team, start slapping more in there. Same with like Use Magic Device. These are probably the last 2 that I would really invest in heavily. Athletics is more important, Ability is more important, Trickery is definitely more important. And again, we talked about Persuasion getting to 6 as soon as possible, and quite frankly, as soon as you get it to 6, you'll feel pretty good. Every time I seem to get one of these to 7, a point goes into Perception every round or every level, and then I usually have 3 points left once you get to, of course, to a 14 intelligence. So I have 3 points left after putting 1 in Perception, which always has to go in there. So what do I usually do when something gets to 7? I just dump all 3 into it, finish it off, call it good at 10. The important one, though, after Perception, in my opinion, was getting Trickery to 10 then as soon as possible. After that, I'd say probably Persuasion was the next important one. Again, because you have a kingdom, why not have it as high as possible so that you're always making that bonus. Also, because of the way we make the build, slightly different than the other guy, we will have intimidation checks. So again, we did a little bit of the Corning and Smash. We didn't go into the Dreadful Carnage, and I'll show you how you can do that. But let me show you the feat that we got instead of Stealthy. We picked up Endurance, one that I normally don't get. One is because I wanted to grab something different. Again, there's reasons for these feats being out there. Why not test some stuff out? And there's reasons to like it. There's reasons to actually straight up hate it. I'll show you a couple examples of why. First off, it gives us a bonus to Athletics, another +2. So in the vein of giving stuff that benefits our skill points, it still does that. We don't see it in our abilities though, so I don't know if it officially works. As you see, you don't see a +2 in here, so that's kind of a drag. But I assume it kicks in when we actually do an athletics check. I don't know that. I can't test that. At least not in the 10-hour steps, so that's a thing. Notice there is a bonus to Fortitude saves, a really good one, for versus fatigue and exhaustion. I thought, wrongly, that this would protect us from stuff like Sirocco. Remember, there's a Fortitude save, and then you fall down, makes you prone, and then of course you get exhausted, or fatigued first, and then exhausted on the second hit. I thought maybe this would protect us from that, or at least give us an increase to our saves. Sadly, no. I don't know if this would work against things like Bone Shatter, an auto hit spell that literally will make you fatigued even if you make the check, and exhausted if you fail the check. Again, I can't test that. Hopefully it will. I kind of doubt that it will. I think this is natural fatigue and exhaustion, which just means that I'll exist in an actual game setting without being the whiny crybaby of the team going, I'm tired, are we there yet? I hate that shit. So I was that child when I was a small child, so I don't want to be that adult. So this makes sense to grab something like this. And it's a little late in build, but I don't mind. Notice a couple other really nice bonuses besides that, though, are the fact that you can either wear light or medium armor while taking your nap. As such, you don't become fatigued with that, which means, I assume, that you don't, since I never take my armor off to take a nap, they just naturally peel it off you. So obviously you're not meant to wear heavy armor and have endurance. Wear yourself the best medium armor you have before taking a knee, is my point. The reason that that's important is, again, when you get jumped in the middle of the night, you have armor on then immediately. That's important because everyone's struggling to get up and go, oh my god, what bad guys are here, oh, who was on watch? And everyone just kind of screws up there. So if you're the team leader and you're already in armor while everyone else is scrambling to do something to buff themselves up or to protect themselves or whatever they need to do is start taking out these armada that just jumped your ass in the middle of the night, you're already armored up and fighting. You can cast spells immediately. I actually have Quicken as a magic. Not a meta magic, but one of these magics over here. So Quicken magic is there, and I can literally click that once and summon like a shit ton of puppies out of nowhere. And that gives us some breathing room. I guess that's late again, but so was this pick. So again, on you. On the leveling process, what did we actually start off with? We went with Arcane Strike, Spell Focus Conjuration, and for no real reason. Arcane Strike is a nice buff, so I'll happily take it. Spell Focus Conjuration isn't necessary this early, but I knew this was going to be something we focused on with this build. He was a Conjurer in the other one, and slightly an Enchanter, and I couldn't justify doing both. So I'm like, you know what, we're just going to do Conjuration. We're going to be a Summoner, and we'll still use Conjuration spells, of course, so we're a little bit of both as far as that regard, but not really heavily on the enchantment. The other guy, if you'll recall, the Serpentine build, not only did he get like things like Delayed Poison, the son of a bitch, he also got a Poison spell, which is, but at least Delayed Poison was awesome. He got 2 summons for free. Level 7, he got himself a Summon Monster 3 for free, which is pretty awesome at that early of a level. And then he got Den of Vermin as one of his spell-like abilities, which is another type of summons, pretty awesome one that we won't get. And then he picked up another summons over here in his free spell picks, so we got like the level 6 version. So he had 3 summons altogether. We actually ended with 3 as well, not the same type of 3, and I'll talk about that later. And of course he has immunity to poison at the end. He has a snake bite, which is just a random attack if you turn it on, of course, which may not hit early on, but later on when it does hit, you will actually appreciate it, something that I won't get. So he had a lot of pluses, not a lot in the way of minuses. It was a solid build. Now, how do we compete with that? Well, we went Conjure like crazy, of course, a solid +2 here, and then the +1 that you saw up there. We didn't go greater spell focus Conjuration because it wasn't really necessary, in my opinion. Your DC checks are still garbage, quite frankly. Even with that +3, they're still subpar. Normally, remember, I finished with a 24 charisma for an Arcane Bloodline build. 24 is a staple. 22 if you feel like you need 2 points somewhere else, I suppose, maybe. But 24 is a staple. And it's a high bonus here. You got a +7 versus a +3. Even with this +2 and this +1, even my Conjuration spells are still subpar compared to what they could be if I went crazy on my charisma like normal. So literally, I'm down as far as the DC check. I'm still doing okay. Remember, 16 is a staple for most people. They do the Eldritch Scion. Why? Because 6 is all you need. Sorry, 16 is all you need to be able to cast level 6 spells. So many people say, well, that's my stopping point, and then I'll invest in Strength or Dex or Con or whatever else they want, which is fine. So this build is not horrible. Neither was the Serpentine Bloodline build. That's also one that went 16. So you're still okay. You just won't have many spells a day, and your DC checks are pretty much shite. Just know that going in. And again, you still will get spells that are staples that still work well, and that's no big deal. Let's talk about our feats first. So Arcane Strike, Spell Focus Conjuration, bonus to your DC checks right off the bat. And again, helps out when you grab spells like Grease, Glitter Dust, ones that are early on that you just naturally grab without even thinking about, what school do they come from. Weapon Focus Rapier was important that you pick a weapon of some kind. Doesn't have to be a rapier, I just picked one. And again, I will mention this to you right now. So whatever weapon you want, really. One-handed weapon is preferred, and obviously something that the highest crit potential. So rapier, kukri, and scimitar are your various options, in my opinion. Because we went human, those are the 3 we're limited to. If you went elf, possibly half elf, I can't remember, but if you get the elven weapons, you could have picked up for weapon focus, because it's considered a martial weapon to you and your kind. You could have picked up the elven curve blade, which would have been pretty cool. I don't know that there's a bunch in the game though, so it's kind of meh. So it's on you on stuff like that. You could have picked any other one-handed weapon. Hell, I even toy with the idea of daggers or short swords. They're fine. They don't have the best crit range, but they're far from being monk weapons where it's had to crit on a natural 20 only. So at least there's some good ones in the game, and there's plenty of really good daggers, by the way. So, and there's even one that's really funny. And the dagger has a normally 2-foot reach, like most melee weapons. This magic dagger has a 6-foot reach, which is just weird. Obviously it's magic, but it's pretty funny that it can reach 6 feet away. So again, there's plenty of good choices. You're not stuck to anything. Feel free to grab a weapon focus of some kind that's a melee weapon, and that's important because we're going to be grabbing things like Dazzling Display, Shatter Defenses, and Corny Smash. I don't know which one needs weapon focus, but guaranteed something does. So you really do need to grab that. Then we got Deceitful here, and then here we have Power Attack. And remember, when you grab these ones, when they're double up like this, here at level 5, level 11, and level 17, always grab the one on bottom first. Why do I say that? Because if you try to grab Deceitful down here, it won't work. It's not available. Power Attack, on the other hand, is available in both locations. So you could grab Power Attack here and then go, where's my Deceitful? Oh, I don't have access to it yet. No, you always had access to it. It's just this is a limited pick. So we'll grab the limited pick first, then go up here. And then in one case, it actually doesn't matter. Where is it? Superior Summoning and Endurance? Yeah, I think so. This one here at 17, it actually doesn't matter which of these you grab in what location, because Shatter or Superior Summoning is in both locations, so is Endurance, because it's a fighter feat, so to speak. But these fancy ones that buff your brain power, like Persuasive, Deceitful, and Deft Hands, all have to be picked up here. They're not available down in the Magus feat picks. So know that. But again, Deceitful, and again, Power Attack. Why Deceitful earlier than the others? A bonus to Persuasion and Trickery. Sounds like a win to me. You have a kingdom to run here before too long. You're not level 5 by the end of Chapter 1, unless you take the team with you everywhere you go, which is still viable. If you go solo from 3 to 5, like I recommend, in that one area, you'll get yourself that Composite Longbow, Expeditious Retreat, and Kite like crazy. With your mobility, your trickery, and your athletic skills that you've been investing in, you will be able to get those checks in many cases, scum saving, of course. Beat those areas, with the exception of the wolves, which you cannot do this trick on. You'll be level 5 before too long. Then bring the team clean house with the wolves and the giant monster that's also in the area. Finish off maybe the boss fight, and then you're done. Take them for the rest of the chapter. You'll probably finish Chapter 1 around 6 or 7, and everyone else will be around 4 or 5, is my guess. And that's fine. Do I recommend you soloing from 3 all the way to the end of Chapter 1, which means you'll be probably level 8? It'll be hard road to hoe. You could totally do that. I will not recommend it. Why? Because then in Chapter 2, you're going to be taking those losers with you everywhere you go, because you have no choice, and they're going to be level 3, and everything else is going to be level 5, 6, or 7, and they're going to get curb stomped, because they don't even have their bonus to their very first attribute point yet. So it's really going to be painful. So just go from 3 to 5, then take the team with you from that point on, and all the way through Chapter 1. You'll finish at 6 or 7, and then you guys will progress on to Chapter 2, and then you can ditch them every once in a while again to get another level or 2. Keep ahead of them is basically the point. From there, again, Deceitful is useful for their trickery bonus. Eventually we'll get it up to level 10. So again, at 10 or higher, trickery will finally be 10 points invested in it, max. And therefore you'll go from a +2 to a +4. Notice that the next one we don't get until way the hell down here. Sure, you can swap these things around a little bit, but it's kind of on you to decide which goes where. But this one was definitely needed early. Power Attack was necessary so that we can get things like Corny and Smash. So again, when we make a Power Attack, which means this stays on, you hit somebody and there's an Intimidation check, which is actually misleading. Usually you think of, well, they make a check, to basically avoid being intimidated by you. No, you actually roll a check to intimidate them. So they have the DC set by whatever level or how tough they are, whatever that calculates out their DC number. And then you try to intimidate them using your persuasion skill. So the good news is by the end of our build, what were we hitting for our persuasion? That's intimidation check. Now, yes, it's a little higher because of the ring, but again, a solid 24 and up was really, really nice for us. So again, a really good way for us to straight up start scaring the shit out of people. And again, another reason for wanting Deceitful, because it's a bonus to our persuasion. So while it may not have been landing too much at this level, when it does, you'll know it, and it's pretty nice. Now again, it's only single target. This is not Dreadful Carnage, which is the best version, which is the one that when you kill somebody, you basically intimidate everyone in a big hogging circle, kind of like using this next ability that we're about to grab, Dazzling Display. This is the one where you pump your fist up into the air with your weapon in your hand. It takes a full round to cast it, and poof, you set off a big fart cloud and scare the shit out of everybody. So, massive AoE intimidation check. Nice, but it's a waste, and I don't normally use this because it's a full round of you standing there like a doofus. I just rather hit them and intimidate them one-on-one. This is good enough for me. Notice that we got Persuasive here at 11, and Shattered Defenses, of course, as well. Shattered Defenses being key here because now they're frightened, shaken, or panicked. They're flat-footed to you for the rest of that combat round. So basically, after the first swing of this one, assuming the intimidation check works, which means you did scare them, every attack after that's going to be he's scared, he's scared, he's scared, and therefore flat-footed, flat-footed, flat-footed. Just sets itself up beautifully for whooping on that guy. Notice, of course, this comes right around the time we'll get Sense Vitals. More on that later. But basically, sneak attack damage loving like crazy. From there, we went into Augment Summoning, and the reason for that is that's the very first summons we get, and I guess this is extremely late. Remember, he got his at 7, but it was important to get it. So here's Augment Summoning here. Then we grab Meta Magic. Again, I make cases for Empower, Extend, or Reach. They all are viable options in many ways, especially for your summons. Not that they need a DC bonus, just that we can have multiple castings of the same type of pet. Notice because I went in Power, actually, remember that's 2-level increase. It means anything in level 1 through 4 can be buffed to 3 to 6. Okay, because of that, specifically because of that, you'll see that I didn't grab Summon Monster 5 when I could have. I grabbed Summon Monster 4 because I can make it the empowered version if I so choose. So I have technically 2 castings of this same spell, one that's the empowered version. Why is that important? Because the full amount of time to cast a spell anyway. When you meta magic something, it goes to a full round casting. Summons are always a full round anyway, so I'm fine. And while I will get the level 6 one, as you'll see down here, there is something to be said about having 2 to 5 extraplanar wolves jump up to 50% more. And remember, I also get another +1 on top of that. Why do I say that? Because I'm also going to get, where are you? Yeah, Superior Summoning. And again, that adds another 1. So instead of 2 to 5 for this particular spell, for when I summon the wolves, it would be 3 to 6 is the range. And again, 50% more of that. So 3 would jump up to 4.5, rounded down obviously to 4. 4 would be my minimum. Instead of 6, it would be 50% of 6, which is another +3, so it could be 6, would go to 9. So the empowered version, I could have 9 wolves out with a click of a button if I'm lucky enough. Poof. When you get jumped in the middle of the night, remember our endurance, we got armor on, the teammates scrambling, I use something like Quicken Magic, let's say, and then the empowered version of that spell, and bam, I got 9 little buddies already chomping at the bit to tear apart the bad guys that jumped us in the dark. Just saying, it's extremely helpful. So again, there's reasons for some of this, but there's Augment Summoning. Remember, that's a +4 to all of your summons strength and their con for the duration of their spell. Since they don't last very long, this is a nice way to keep them viable. Meta Magic, Empower, again, not only is it useful for making more wolves, but it's also useful for doing more damage. Many of our spells will do that, and as such, why not do 50% more? And again, you'll see when we get into the spell book, this is extremely useful. We don't have many uses of it, and so our DC checks, benefiting from it being empowered. There'll be some, but it won't be enough to be like, oh, you're amazing. No, if you wanted amazing, you're a conjurer, you should have gone something like Extend or Reach, in my opinion. And therefore you would have had many, many, many more spells that have a DC bonus, including the ones that are your conjuration spells, which you would benefit from. I would probably, quite frankly, go on Extend, because then our summons can be, instead of the 1 to 2 minute lame sauce that they are for being out, they could have been up to 4 minutes, which is kind of cool. But again, on you. And you'll notice I did not grab Extended Magic. I grabbed Wand Wielder. We'll talk about that in a moment. From here, of course, Endurance was our pick there, as so was Superior Summoning. And again, in either order, doesn't matter for this one. But Superior Summoning was the one that literally adds 1 to your summons. So completely garbage when it talks about your elemental summoning, because you only ever summon 1 of those bastards. Completely useless for those guys. But perfect for these ones here. Notice, in this particular spell, I can summon 1 wolf, 1 to 3 monitor lizards, or 2 to 5 extraplanar wolves. This will benefit those last 2 categories, the wolves and the monitor lizards, but not the dire wolf, because the dire wolf you always only summon 1. So Superior Summoning doesn't do shit for that guy. but that's okay. It does stuff for the other things, and that's the whole reason for it. Over here, Deft Hands was our last pick, and again, that's the trickery slash magic, use magic device. Just a nice solid +4 again at the very end of your build. And again, I was okay with that. Why? Because you're not the trickery person on the team. Yes, you have skill in it. Yes, you will have things like Deceitful. That'll give you a solid +2, eventually a +4 when you get down to here or higher. And again, that's as much as you're investing is those 10 points. So your dex is kind of garbage. You're only going to have 10, 11, +2, +4, so was that a 15 or so right around here to your trickery, and then you're not putting anything in it. That doesn't mean you won't get dexterity belts. That doesn't mean you won't have people bless you with ways to buff up your skills. There won't be. It doesn't mean that you won't have gloves of trickery or whatever the hell they call them, trap springer gloves or whatever the hell they're called, to give you another +4, +5, +10 or whatever to your trickery skill. Point is though, you are not the trickery guy. This is just a cheap and easy way for you to always try to get some XP. So come save it. If you can't make the check, you give it to the expert on the team. So again, this little bump at the end was kind of silly, but again, you can swap it out for something else. On that, notice with all the stuff that we picked, again, we did not get Dreadful Carnage. If you wanted Dreadful Carnage in this build, what I would probably get rid of would be the Endurance one, quite frankly. I would probably shift this around to make the Meta Magic later, or Augment Summoning can come later, along the line, say with Superior Summoning at the same time. And at 15, you could have gotten Dreadful Carnage, and your Meta Magic could have been here at 13. Would have been how I'd swap things around, if you wanted that sort of thing. And again, there's no reason not to, but remember, your Charisma is not epic. Your Intimidation is not great. The half-orc was better at all that shit than we were. If you were to go that route, I would not get the Monkey Familiar. I would probably get the Viper like he did. And I just didn't want to be same all the time, you know what I mean? So that's my reasoning for going Monkey. From here, note for our Magus Arcana, we grab Wand Wielder. Why? For two reasons. One, you're a strength-based character. So you can use the staff, so you can do the wand wielding staff. Now, I did not grab wand mastery, as you'll see, but that's because our charisma's another crap, so there's no reason to, in my opinion. But wand wielder by itself is still a decent pick, and you will get wands, and might as well be the guy that has them, so you will be able to use a one-handed weapon, hence my rapier, or kukri, or whatever you picked. That's a one-hander. Is in your hand, and you're fighting with it. You can still use your wands to cast a spell, and then attack like normal. Then we went during Blade, Ghost Blade, Bane Blade, the staples, ones that buff our weapon as soon as they're available. We grab Maximize Magic because I just like maximizing things, and it works, by the way, for your summons. So when you want to have that 6 to 9 wolves, the empowered version of this, I can guarantee 9 shows up. Just saying. Click that little bastard, and then click that empowered version of that spell, and then poof, 9 extra planar wolves are up on the battlefield. That shit's just funny. By the way, on that note, I did the math on this. There's two ways that you could have considered the way that this works. Remember, we have Superior Summoning here. That adds 1 to the amount that you summon. Remember, Empower increases whatever die rolls and such. We're talking about the variables, if you will, by 50%. So the question is do we add the 1 for Superior Summoning first, and then do the 50% Empower? Or does it do the 50% Empower first on the normal die roll, and then they add the 1? Where you at? Right here. Then you add the 1, and that is different. If you do the math on that, literally Superior Summoning, if it was taken into account after the Empower, you'd be screwed. You'd lose out on a pet like every so often, either on the lowest end category or the upper end category, or both. So you really would rather have Empower taken into account after Superior Summoning is kicked in. Turns out that is the way it works, so that's beautiful for us. Just for those of you that are curious, that the Superior Summoning, you add the 1 to the variable first, whatever it rolls, that's their total. Same with Maximize Magic, by the way, so the Maximize is taken into account. Boom, you have your Maximize number, and then after all that shit's done, then Empowered Meta Magic kicks in, if of course you've empowered it, and the 50% is added to that number. Poof, we can get all the way up to 9 that way, which is amazing, because if it was the other way, by the way, you'd be limited to like 8. So just saying, it's not amazing, it's just nice that they benefit from that. Other stuff, Maximize Magic for obvious reasons, Quicken Magic for when we really need to, like I said, to get those pets out, and of course anything that's been meta-magicked takes a full caster round for us because we're spontaneous casters. So this could have been Empower or Extend or Maximize or Reach, whatever meta-magic you picked. Any of the spells that you've modified, it's a full round of like an idiot. So In many cases, it's nicer just to click a little button and say, nope, I want that shit now. So I will usually use those for the empowered versions of spells. There's only 3 a day, but it's really, really helpful. And I usually try to keep one, just so we're clear. If you're going to be in battle, it's nice to have the 3 spells off immediately. If you get jumped, it's nice to have one and wait so that you can, well, I need a shield spell. Not saying it takes forever to cast shield spell. I'm just saying that sometimes you just really want to have resist energy or whatever on your character, like now. So one of these in your back pocket always is a good idea. I'll even go so far as to say I keep one for when we go to bed. Why? Because again, you get jumped in the middle of the night. What happens? Well, you get jumped. If I'm wearing medium or light armor, at least I'm armored up. My teammates probably not, but I am. We get jumped in the middle of the night, and while they're scrambling, I can click this last little button that I have and wait, and then do my massive summons. Boom. Obviously, the empowered version being the better category. But again, I flood the battlefield with all kinds of pets out of nowhere. Extremely helpful. Just saying. And yes, that's late in the build, but still, you'll get to 20 no problem. From there, let's talk about the spells that he gets versus the spells that I get. Now, of course, you see that I get Magic Missile, Invisibility, Dispel Magic, Dimension Door, Break Enchantment, and True Seeing. One of the reasons I don't really need Blind Fight, the other being that I picked up Glitter Dust early on, another conjuration spell that we benefit from. So we're basically generic. It's not surprising. But the other guy, he's going to get stuff like Hypnotism, an enchantment spell that normally you is locked behind level 19 content. He'll get Hold Monster, another enchantment spell normally hidden behind level 19 content. The bastard gets them for free as he levels up. And extremely useful spells early on as a result. He'll get Delay Poison, a spell that we don't even have access to. And then he gets Poison, which I could care less about. But then he gets his Summon Pets at level 7, the Summon Monster 3. Little bastard has pets out of nowhere, like immediately in the game. That's like chapter 2 at the earliest. And that's awesome that he gets those. So he has a lot of bang for his buck. Remember, he has the Den of Vermin, another summon ability that comes later. Then he, of course, has immunity to poisons. He has better armor than you because there's natural armor enhancement. He's basically an all-around jackass. So he has plenty of things going for him that we're not going to get. On that, we had to make a decision then. Do we want to go enchantment, which we did not. It looks like we did because of that down here, but we'll talk about that later. Let's talk about the spells as we leveled up. Of course, we grabbed our first free spell, Sense Vital, something he's not going to get until level 19, and that's even if he picked it up. I can't even remember if he did or not. Probably should have. It's that good of a spell. But if he didn't, we definitely have it, and if he did, we get it 10 levels before him. So we will definitely benefit from this. First is him. We get a summons. Again, my rationale for Summon Monster 4, viable. If you did not go Empower Meta Magic, feel free to grab level 5 version and get yourself Reach or Extend Meta Magic. And it would be 2 different castings of this one then. It's level 5 and at level 6. Just saying, there's reasons for that. I would not pick up 3 by this level. It's way too late in the build to be picking up the lackluster monsters that are the level 3 summons. He had them way the hell down here when it was useful. And they're still useful, don't get me wrong, as fodder, but by and large he would not want to pick them. Obviously the best version at this level is level 5, and I still didn't pick it for this reason of the empowered spell version. Then I grab a conjuration spell. Haha. That is not an enchantment. It is the same effect as an enchantment though. Just like Hold Monster, Hold Person, Constricting Coils that does damage, there's Chains of Light. This is a conjuration spell that just is a paralysis spell. That's all it does. It's level 6 though. That's kind of a drag, but it's still a pretty solid chance that it'll land. So if I need to make something helpless, here's my way of doing it. And I have again a buff to it thanks to this, as well as my spell, school power, conjuration, +2 here. So I have a +3 to any conjuration spell DC check. That's this guy right there. So that's the reason for that one. On that, let's look at our spell book. And what did we pick as we leveled up? Shocking Grass Shield. Your staples are still there. Notice that we picked up conjuration spells with DC checks. Even though we're not great at them, we're still far from being horrible with them. So again, there's still reasons to want them. And as you know, Grease Spell is amazing from start to finish. So we have it. Magic Missile for free. Notice the one with the dots is the ones that get empowered. Just as a reminder, this is not everything. But plenty of spells that we do want. And again, another conjuration spell that will benefit from the DC check being a +1 higher. Expeditious Retreat. This was available at level 3. You pick it up at level 3 for this reason, so that you can kite from 3 to 5. If that's not your thing, you don't need this yet, or you can swap this out for something else. Notice I did go in large person on this build. I figured, what the hell, since we're not going to stealth at all, might as well be really bad at it. Remember, you get a penalty for stealth if you're big. Bonus to stealth if you're teeny tiny. You will not grab reduced person on this build, because again, you're a strength-based build, so it makes more sense to go strength. If you want to hit and hit hard, this is the way to do it. And it gives an extra reach if you have a reach type weapon, so that's nice. Snowball, just because it's a ranged attack, I don't care about that. I do like that it's a conjuration spell, and it's a different damage type in this category. So I have electric versus magic versus cold, and I'm cool with that. And the cold damage will still land so long as you hit them. So the save doesn't mean anything as far as that's concerned. It's just whether or not they're staggered. Level 2, Blur Frigid Touch, invisibility for free, Scorching Ray, still amazing. And while your dex is pretty much crap at 12, it gets even worse when you get in large person on. Remember, you go from a 12 to a 10 because you're so big and clumsy. But it is a touch attack, it's easier to land, and therefore I don't mind grabbing it. Glitter Dust is a conjuration spell, and again, nice because we don't have blind fight on this build, a way to coat the bad guys, even if they make their check. The check is whether or not they're blinded. So an amazing spell for us. Sense Vitals. Notice, by the way, we don't have Web. This and Grease are the only reason I can feel confident that I don't really need Web. Would be useful to get it, but we had to pick something else. Sense Vitals, obviously the free pick. Effortless Armor. This is the one because, again, even if I don't wear plate armor before going to bed, I want medium or light on, right? So you're going to be constantly swapping out armor. But even with that, some of the medium armor has enough of a penalty to it, like breastplate, that you probably still want to cast this on yourself. And then again, it lasts for a good long while. You don't need to extend it. By the end of the build, it's 20-minute buff. More than enough for most maps. And again, you will enjoy having your athletics check back to normal, your mobility check, and your stealth check, not that you care, but all those back to normal. And the same with your movement, by the way. If you're impeded by movement from your armor, the movement comes back. Mirror Image for obvious tanking protection. Resist Energy was one of your free picks at level 19. Again, I like being self-sufficient. You don't have to grab this one, it's kind of late in the build, but again, you'll see that we have things like Acid Fog, stuff that we're going to be stepping in that could damage us, and it could provide us a benefit for being in the cloud, so we might as well have some protection. So I decided, what the hell, let's grab Resist Energy. Displacement Vampiric Touch, Dispel Magic for free. Stinking Cloud as soon as possible, because again, it's a nice conjuration spell, so a bonus. Do not stand in this stuff. You do not have protection from it like the Serpentine Bloodline build. You don't even have a Fortitude increase to saves against poison like he does. So his delay poison trounces us in all kinds of ways, and even if it weren't for that, he still has a Fortitude bonus to poison attacks. So to saves against poison attacks. So it's still one of those where you make sure someone protects you or cast it at a distance. Lightning Bolt, a solid spell. Decided to go in again instead of Fireball because we're going to get controlled Fireball at level 4. Haste shows up right at the same time as your pets do, or real close to it. Why? Because why not buff your pets? Summon those damn wolves and boom, cast hate right after. They attack more, they have better armor, they move faster. It's a win all across the board. Slow, obvious penalty for the bad guy. And again, you'll see that I've meta magic some, but not all my spells, just to showcase some things. But notice that we had only a few, again, just like here, damage, and one that's not damage, as well as damage, not damage, but an effect. How long the stank cloud sticks to them afterwards, after they fail their check and they leave the cloud, is a die roll. So again, you can empower and maximize that, which is kind of cool. Or in duration as well, by the way. Lightning Bolt, damage, why not have more damage? It sounds like a good idea to me. Dragon's Breath and Greater Invisibility. Went Greater Invis before Stone Skin. Why? Because we already had Sense Vitals. Where is it at? Sense Vitals on the menu at level 9. So at level 10, when we picked these guys up, made sense to get Greater Invisibility so that we could literally do some definite stealthing and stab all the time with our Greater Invis always on and Sense Vitals still on. Dragon's Breath is a no-brainer in my opinion because, again, different types of damage, really good damage, and it's no spell resistance, which you gotta love that. So really, really nice. Dimension Door is free. Remember, don't pick it. It shows up already at 10. It just doesn't have the little thumbs down. Stone Skin then was the obvious pick after this. Shout for some different type of damage, and again, a little bit of crowd control. And it's a Fortitude save versus a Reflex save, so another reason to like it. Notice that these two, of course, are already empowerable, if that's a word, but means that this is the highest category that we can buff up from 4 to 6. Summon Monster, This is a free pick. Again, we talked about that one already. Amazing spell. Control Fireball. Again, decent spell, teammate friendly, and a nice bonus to it when we empower it as well. Bone Shatter was a judgment call. This is a level 19 pick one. This is one I grabbed because of the fact we could empower it, and I do like the exhaust / fatigue effect. And when 15d6 can technically jump up to 22.5d6, that's still a pretty big ouch for single target as a level 6 spell. Just saying, it's nice, and it's auto hit, so I don't have to think about it. It's like, if this guy just needs to die, I could use Hellfire Ray and maybe hit him. I can maybe miss. Now, why not just use the empowered Bone Shatter version and just guarantee that the bastard drops like a stone? So, just saying, there's reasons to like an auto hit move. On this, again, I don't know that with our endurance that we're not immune to the fatigue effect or the exhausted effect of this. It's a fortitude save. I can't imagine, though, that we are. If we're not immune to the Sirocco version, I can't imagine that we'd be immune or resistant, I should say, to the Bone Shatter version of the exhausted or fatigue. On that, there could be a reason that Sirocco did fail. Remember, Sirocco's fortitude save is not just for whether you're fatigued or exhausted from the effect. It's also a knockdown. So there's two components to it. So maybe that's the reason. And again, you could get a +4 bonus to your fortitude save against a spell like this on you. But I can't test it, so I don't know. Phantasmal Killer, just because I needed something else. And again, it's an empowerable spell, so yay. Notice that we have an empowered Scorching Ray here. And remember, that's 50% extra damage. So 4d6 3 times is basically like saying 6d6 3 times. And then we can sneak attack that shit too for another 5d6 per hit. So that's 11d6, 11d6, and 11d6 of damage if they all hit and they all sneak attack. That's a lot of oomph for a level 4 spell. I'm just saying, 33d6 of damage or a single target. That's a pretty big owie. Moving on. Acidic Spray and Cloud Kill, 2 conjuration spells right off the bat, and again, both empowerable, but you can't do a damn thing with it because we're only level 5 and 6 for castings. Can't go to level 7 or 8 for us anyway. Break Enchantment's free. Fire Snake, awesome. Cold of Cold, again, good. So you have all 3 damaging spells from this list. Vampiric Shadow Shield, just because the other guy did. I don't particularly care about it, but it's there. We have Angelic Aspect, which is kind of a judgment call. I wanted some protection, so the DR5/evil is always nice. Some acid cold protection as well. And I like the fact that our weapon is considered good for purposes of penetrating that DR whatever/good protection that some bad guys may have. And it's a long-lasting protection. If you didn't like this, Genie Kind was another viable option. We didn't grab Greater Heroism, as you'll see, which is kind of a drag. You could drop that off and grab Greater Heroism, again, on you. But it's at level 19, so it's kind of meh, who cares? You see we have the empowered version of Vampiric Touch. And remember, we have the ability to coup de grace people with our paralysis spell. It's a level 6 spell. It's very late in the game, but other people can set you up for coup de grace too. So know that when you empower that little bastard, you cast it, pause the game right after you cast it so you don't immediately swing at the target, because then it's a normal swing. Then spend another round setting up the coup de grace, so they have to be paralyzed, and you have to hope that they stay paralyzed for a while. You finish that bastard off with a guaranteed crit on a maximized and empowered version of that spell. Remember, that's a guaranteed 180 hit points to you, and if you recall, I'm at like 132 hit points or something right now, so I can more than double my hit points with one spell. And well, with the coup de grace set up already, but one spell casting, I can go from 132 to 310 or some such, and that's pretty big, and that's for an hour. Just saying. So there's some real nice love there. Another reason I wanted empowered for my meta magic. Level 6, here's our Sirocco transformation, 2 staples. Again, the order of which you pick these things are kind of on you. The No True Seeing is free. Chains of Light we picked up for free, and that was the one we grabbed at level 17. So again, another conjuration spell, a paralysis spell. Hellfire Ray, obvious spell, and again, your dex is not great, but by now you have enough of a bonus to your dexterity with belts of dexterity, for instance, that you're fine. And again, you have a solid attack bonus still, and it's a touch attack, so it's easier to land more than ever. So this is still a solid spell. Dragonkind 1, I'm a strength-based character. You got to figure I'll probably grab this every time I'm a strength-based character, because it is just that good. Good strength, good con, good damage, good armor, extra attacks around that can be sneak attacked, and you can still cast spells in this form, which is pretty awesome. Tar Pool, 1 out for the free picks compared to Obsidian Flow for the same reasons as always. Tar Pool does more damage over time, 2d6 every round after the initial 10d6 spike of fire damage. And again, with me slapping down something like a Conjuration Grease spell, something that I excel at, they'll slippy slide, fall into the grease, and then fall into the tar. And because they fall into the tar, it's even more of a penalty for them to try to get out of the tar, which is kind of cool. Summon Monster 6 now comes online. This is a free pick again at level 19. This is the one that you wanted. Notice that we are not evil, we are lawful neutral, and unlike the other build where we got the goat bearded bastards and the soul eater, the undead captain of my undead army, this guy is going to get the neutral / good version, which means I get the Azadas and the Berlani Azadas and what's the other one, Axiomites or something like that. Yeah, the extraplanar Axiomite. And those bastards all cast like lightning bolt spells like crazy. Another reason for wanting resist energy, by the way. Because I need to protect myself from my own goddamn summons. Because these guys are spam happy tootsies when it comes to lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt. They even cast like mirror image on themselves, which is pretty damn pimp. But again, the multiple summons do that, and the individual summon, the Axiomite, do that. So again, they are annoying in that regard because they will hurt your team. So just be aware. We also did not grab the Animate Dead. If you recall, I did that for the Serpentine build. Why did I not do that this time? Because I grabbed the Quicken Magic so I can instant summon guys. Remember, the reason for wanting Animate Dead was not because they get the buff from Augment Summons. They don't. They don't even get benefit from Superior Summons. And again, I've proven that. So that's fine. I needed them because they're a standard action to cast them spells versus the full round of any summons. Remember, if you just look at this one here, you see the casting time of one full round. That's always going to be the thing, whether it's meta magic or not. It's always going to be one full round, unless, of course, I quicken it. So again, if I need pets and I need them now, or as soon as I can anyway, then I can at least do the standard action of Animate Dead, get me some Skeleton Horde out there, and then attack in the same round still. That was the reason for the Serpentine Bloodline picking that particular spell. Since I don't need to worry about that, I decided let's grab an Elemental. They are good, they are cool, and they are tough. I don't benefit from Superior Summoning because you only summon one, but I will benefit from the Augment Summons, so I'll get a +4 to their Strength and a +4 to their Con, which means the Earth guy hits like a brick shithouse, so he's fun. And they're pretty tough, and you know, they extra hit points and Mega Fortitude and all that other stuff that they get from Augment Summoning, so it's kind of cool to have them. And if you need some extra fire damage, having a big fire elemental is pretty funny as hell to walk them around and let that bastard damage some shit. They're teammate friendly, I think. I say that because I think the air elemental has a vortex AoE ability that could not be teammate friendly, so be careful with that doofus. But other than him, all three of the other ones I think are relatively teammate safe. So they are fun to have. Acid Fog, and they're immune to a lot of different shit because they're elementals. Acid Fog was just a normal pick as we leveled up. Again, I could have grabbed Electric, the Chain Lightning spell. Does more damage, obviously, but Acid Fog, we can stand in the cloud thanks to things like, you know, turning into a black dragon, so we're immune effectively to the amount of damage this thing could do. Or, of course, way the hell back here we had our resist energy, so we can make ourselves resistant to acid damage and therefore stand in the cloud and benefit from all the weird stuff that the cloud provides. Damage to every bad guy every round, penalty to their movement, penalty to all of our melee and attacks and damage rolls, as well as some armor to us against range attacks coming into the cloud. So there's kind of reasons to hide in the cloud. Notice that I have 3 different empowered spells listed here. These are the highest ones that I can empower, level 4 versions, right? Let's actually walk why I grabbed those 3 just to demonstrate some points for why I like Empower. Bone Shatter, okay? Remember 15d6, 50% more. Again, would jump that up to 22.5d6. Now, obviously, that rounds down for the low end, so the 22 is the minimum. But on the upper end, you still get it. What is 15d6 normally? That's 90 points of damage. 50% of 90 is 45, so add 45 to 90. So a maximized and empowered version of this could do single target if they fail their check, 135 points of damage, guaranteed. Just saying. It's kind of nice. And it's not amazing. I mean, there's other spells that will do more damage than that, but not very many that will do it guaranteed. This is an auto hit move. Now, yes, they could make the save and do half damage. That's still a thing, but still, it's guaranteed damage again. So it's one of those where I kind of like that, and that's the reason for it. Summon Monster 4. Again, we already talked about it, but just as a nice reminder again, 50% more of these guys, 50% more of these guys, and again, with Superior Summoning taking into account first. So 1d3 is actually 1d3 plus 1. So a minimum of 2. 50% of 2 is obviously another 1, so it will be minimum now for 3. And then a maximum would be 4. But again, it's 50% of 4 is 2, so add that to it as well. So a maximum of 6. So instead of being a 2 to 4, it's a 3 to 6 monitor lizards come out every time I click that spell. That's awesome. And then even more than as the wolves. Like I said, the wolves end up capping out, I think, at 9. So that's a lot of little puppies to have out of nowhere. And again, full round cast it anyway, so no real penalty there. I can still quicken magic it, so that's nice. Now let's talk about Dragon's Breath. Why was this so important for me to have on the list? Well, remember, we don't have much in the way of AoE damage in here. That's instant cast stuff. I didn't take the Chain Lightning, for instance. But notice, Dragon's Breath covers not only Chain Lightning and electric damage, but I also have fire, acid, and cold. But let's talk about the electric first. Dragon's Breath, the 12d6 empowered version of the spell, is capable of doing, as empowered, basically 12 jumps up to 18. I know that's not the same way of thinking it, but it's close enough. So 18d6 of damage is what I can expect out of this spell. Now, Chain Lightning could do 20, so why is that better? And then Chain Lightning's an auto hit move where it bounces through them, whereas this you have to line them up in a beam, Brothermutant. Why the hell would you even compare the two? Chain Lightning's the clear winner. Well, one, we didn't pick Chain Lightning. You can, but I didn't. But also note that the 18d6 on this guy, while not as impressive as the 20d6 of Chain Lightning, remember, we have no spell resistance on this spell. Again, this is a nice selling point. And yes, there is a reflex save. Yes, we get a bonus to our reflex saves thanks to the fact that it's meta magicked. But again, it's still a level 4 spell being treated as a level 4 spell plus 1. Chain Lightning was a level 6 spell, so again, it has a better DC check. So again, there's reasons to like both. So just saying that there's reasons to have either or. But remember, Dragon's Breath also covered, like I said, all those different damage types. And we don't have any fire spells, not counting Hellfire Ray, that will do this kind of damage to 18d6. I mean, this one does 10d6. Yes, it does 2d6 tick, 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 but I'm talking about instant cast, damage, damage, damage. Same with Sirocco. It's nice damage, 4d6 per round. Eventually it'll catch up and beat Dragon's Breath's fire damage, but you have to hope that they live long, or that you live long enough for that tick, tick, tick to go off, right? If we're talking instant cast, damage, 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 Chain Lightning, and Dragon's Breath are amazing spells. So again, you can see the love here for that 18d6 of fire damage. Beam / cone, up to you. Acid Fog's the only one I have in this list. And I should, going back real quick, I should remind you that while Hellfire Ray can beat that damage in spades, remember it's single target damage. So again, I would not use Dragon's Breath on, say, a bad guy for fire, when it's just one. I would use Hellfire Ray. But again, this is auto hit, so to speak. You have to line them up. But this one, you still have to swing. So you could technically miss 3 times in a row. Man, that would suck. Just saying, there are reasons to like this spell in this category. Acid Fog, nowhere near the damage that the Acid Breath will do on this thing. So again, 18d6 of fuck you is a really impressive amount of damage. And again, cold as well. The only cold spell I could have picked up here, by the way, was a free pick, level 19 or level 17 even. I could have grabbed Cold Ice Strike. Cold Ice Strike is an AoE and it does 15d6 of damage. It's very fast casting, but this one's reasonably fast too, so I don't feel bad about it. It's full round now because of course it's meta magicked, but again, I can quick and magic that shit. But again, 18d6 of cold damage in a cone or a beam, I think maybe just a cone now that I think about it, versus that narrow beam of Cold Ice Strike that does 15d6. Again, you can see the appeal here. So again, plenty of reasons to want Dragon's Breath in this category. And again, I know I'm harping on this, but this is some of the reason for me liking Empowered as my meta magic pick. I have covered a lot of different bases by having that particular meta magic. Now I know I've covered a lot of stuff on that. Let's actually get into actually having some fun. Let's see, where are we here? Oh, I have my summons. I'll come over here so I can go outside real quick. And then we will rest up, go to another level, show you a couple different tricks, okay? Alright. Remember to grab things like Delay Poison. Let's see, I have different types of armor. Here's my full plate. Notice, -5 armor check penalty. Why is it not -6? Because it's lessened by 1 because it's magic. Now with my spell, Effortless Armor, I can take that -5 completely away. So again, full plate's going to be -6. With the spell, it drops to a -1. But if it's magic full plate or even adamantine full plate, they drop by 1. So again, really, really nice, and I can get all those points back is my point. I will sell that armor though because I don't particularly care about just full plate. Not that it's not better than what I'm wearing right now. It's just I don't really need it to demonstrate what we have. I'm just looking to see if there's anything that I wanted to pick up, guys. Notice we have a strength belt on. We have just a regular breastplate on, Sonic, and of course cloak resistance, radiant arrows. So I have some magic missile spells stored in this thing, and I do have a bonus to my persuasion check because of this. But again, the other guy could have had all these things too. I do have my wands, and I have a rapier and a scimitar, both magic. Why two? Well, one, I have the rapier. Remember, I have skill focus or weapon focus in it, so I'm better at swinging it. So notice the number drops down 1 when I switch to scimitar. Well, then why would you even want the scimitar? Why not just sell it? Remember, this is slashing damage versus piercing damage. So if something's immune or resistant to piercing, I can switch. That's important. So have yourself a bludgeoning weapon like a quarterstaff. Have yourself a slashing weapon like a scimitar, a kukri, whatever. And again, you will happily enjoy having those things on your list. Notice, rest here. Notice that I have also purchased enough delay poisons to actually last me several hours. Every time I'm in a big zone, because of our conjuration type of spells, Stinking Cloud, Cloud Kill, we want to be able to protect ourselves. If someone can't protect me, and I'm running solo right now, then I definitely want to have delay poison on tap. So here's how we do that. So you delay poison, you go into a big area that you know you're going to be fighting for an entire level or an entire floor or entire dungeon, area of effect, whatever we're talking about that you're in, then you definitely want to have something like delay poison cast on you early. So it's always up. It's going to last you for many hours. You won't even use all those hours. I pretty much guarantee it. You'll have to take an eat way before then. You'll run out of spells and other buffs besides. But pre-cast it on yourself so you know you have it. Don't waste them. If you're in an area where you get jumped, like you're napping or whatever, they wake you up in the middle of the night, don't do delay poison and then that seems silly. Because you just wasted a scroll. You'll fight the guys, you'll win, and then poof, you've just lost your delay poison buff because you finished your nap. And so don't waste it is my point. Buffs, our staples are still here. So we have shield, expeditious retreat, alert, and then of course if you want it, you don't have to always add this one, but enlarge person for some extra damage. That's all it's really giving you is extra damage. Otherwise there's all kinds of penalties for having it on. But I do like having the spell, and I like being the team leader that I can see when everyone else is small compared to me. I can tell that, oh, there's my guy. Just easier. I don't really need effortless armor right now. I do have penalties, of course, because of the breastplate. See that -4, so I can make that go away, but I don't particularly care because we're not doing any skill checks right now. We're in the obvious poison or disease area. That's what all these green motes of disgusting are. So using your delay poison scroll or wand or potions or having a teammate cast it on you is a solid way to make sure you're protected for many, many hours. So again, really, really nice. I could buff up with other stuff. I can do Sense Vitals. Let's actually just do just Sense Vitals. Now you'll notice I am not invisible. And I have invisibility and greater invisibility. Why am I not doing this? I want to show you that you can set yourself up for that anyway. Anytime you come across a trap, make sure that you scum save to make sure that you can make the check. And if you can't, give it to the expert. Remember, you're not the best at it, but you're still pretty solid at it. Free XP is free XP. You shut off XP share like you should, right? So that only the person that does the skill check gets the XP, I assume. That's what I do. So again, a chance for you to be ahead of everybody else when it comes to XP. And again, I always feel a little bit better when I'm at least a level or two ahead of my team. Now, looks like we have a giant spider with an aura on him already. Thank God we have some poison resistance on us now, thanks to that delay poison, something that the other guy got as his own free spell, something that we had to actually purchase or have another teammate provide. But it's a teammate build, so was his, so I don't feel too bad. Let's talk about our Summon Monster 4. This is the empowered version. That's why it's down here versus over here. The empowered version of this shit, again, is a full rounded caster. That's still a thing. So obviously if you stealthed or were invisible, that'd be the best way to walk into an area, pre-set up, start your casting, and then send in the horde halfway through your casting so that when they see the horde, they're like, oh, those guys, let's go get them. And then your spell goes off almost right on cue. The fight's begun. That's the best tactic I have for you for this. However, because we have both Quicken Magic and Maximize Magic, I can at least do this and go, you know what? I think I really need to have all these wolves right here now. Boom. That was pretty crappy roll. That's one of the lowest rolls you can get. But at least it worked. And again, remember, I get sneak attack damage. Why am I getting sneak attack damage? Because you're not invisible? Yes, but they're flanked.
You should have run.
So again, reasons to want your little puppies out. So again, that one was not sneak attack because again, no one was flanking him yet. But you see, like I said, there's reasons for wanting the pets. Allows me to literally go take on half the map when my team takes on the other half of the map because my pets are there helping me out. So again, extremely useful tactics. If you summon them, and of course you can summon them just like the Berlani is out of the little lightning bolt casting retards that I hate so much. Those little bastards. You can summon them, and of course summon them in a range, so you can like cast them where they're useful. That's not bad. After that, though, you can take them to the next level, like this. Like the puppies are following me. So with the Bralani Azada, those bastards would be lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt all over me and my team. And that's why they suck, and that's why you need to be careful with them. So watch that shit. I want to show you. Sadly, this guy's going to die too fast. They need to take 2 hits from me for me to intimidate them. The first hit will intimidate them, and then the second one after that will be the one they're flat-footed. I have proven this to myself. I can't show it to you. Just know that it does work. And that's because of shattered defenses, and because of corning and smash and our power attack being on Ooch, which, by the way, looks like my arcane strike was off.
A test of my abilities. Don't hold back.
This guy right here, maybe. Boom, crit to the face. And you're seeing, by the way, every time I hit them, you see that there is an intimidate check. His DC, not mine, his DC was 12, and I passed it. So the DC is going to vary depending on the bad guy. So this is how hard it is to scare him. I don't even know what calculates that. Probably their wisdom or something. Fortitude, who knows. Point is, this is my bonus because of my persuasion being so high. The other guy's better. Remember, I told you that he's higher because of his Serpent Familiar, which we don't have, which we could have got, but I didn't grab it. And he's half orc, so he has a +2 to his intimidation check. So his number is going to be much better than ours. But as you can see, I rolled and successfully intimidated him. If he would have survived that first poke, the next poke would have guaranteed him sneak attack damage because since Vitals is still up, and he's now scared of me, and Shattered Defenses kicks in. So he's flat-footed. Sneak attack, sneak attack, sneak attack. See what I'm saying? That's why this is such a nice build. It's not as amazing as the Dreadful Carnage stuff, but it's still pretty damn solid. And I think you'll like it. Other stuff to show you just real quick will be some of your conjuration spells and how they straight up can help you win fights / kill your team if you're not careful. So Cloud Kill being a fine example. Same with Stinking Cloud. You may not think of it as that damaging of a spell, but remember, if you're basically puking your guts out, you and your team can't cast spells and you can't attack. You can defend yourself, but that's all you got. So straight up, be careful with this spell. But again, if you sneak attack,
a trivial task.
Sorry, I'm looking for bad guys, but this is one of those.
There's something here.
I got me a fire salamander thingy. Bonus and a necklace. Oh, pretty.
There's something here.
Oh yeah. All kinds of loot. Now the bad guys. Hello. Bad guys. Where are you? Brothermutant wants to stab you in the face, bad guys. Where the hell is that map? I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, there we go.
This will be quick.
Let's zip past these guys. This is the main boss. There's one guy. Alright. Oh, of course my damn sense vitals was off. Boo. I was going to show you how it worked. But I can show you the flat-footed is there. Okay, so here is... where's our first swing of this guy? Here's our normal attack. Notice he has 19 armor class. Okay, this is a regular attack for us against this first guy. There's an intimidation check. I succeeded, and therefore with his DC of 15, not 12, so it's different for every bad guy you fight, depending on their toughness, I guess. I was able to intimidate him. Now, on his second attack, is a crit, so again, 2 out of 3. On the second attack, notice he is flat-footed. Why was he flat-footed, class? Because he was intimidated. Hence, shattered defenses. That's why that worked. And again, if I had sneak attack, I would have been able, or sense vitals on, I could have sneak attacked this bastard. So kind of screwed myself on that, but oh, okay. Point is, it was easier to hit him and follow up hits, which is the whole point of this build. You will literally poke once, as long as you hit and intimidate, and then every poke after that's going to be easier for that same guy. Now, Dreadful Carnage is the one where you literally, every time you kill somebody, you intimidate everyone that's a bad guy in a big hog and circle, which is really, of course, amazing. You can still get this on this build. You'd have to lose something, up to you. I just didn't want to do more of the same. We always do the same thing. Now let's actually pull these guys over here and do a solid... Oh, what do we want to do? Well, let's do another summons. Let's do a Quicken Magic. And let's do a Summon Elemental. What are you feeling, Earth? Come here, buddy. Move. Kill that guy.
Should have run.
Oh, he's big and mean and pissy. Good job, buddy. Oh, and while we don't know exactly what his stats are, you can understand quite a bit by his check. Notice he has a strength of plus 11. That means 22, 32, or 33 strength is what he's wielding right now. 4 of which came from my augment summoning, which you just gotta love that shit. He has a size penalty because he's so goddamn big. This is why the huge elementals suck, because it's easier for them to be hit and it's harder for them to hit stuff. But his strength is more than compensating for that. And my augment summoning is overriding that as far as I'm concerned, so I don't care. He has power attack on, so a -3 means he's swinging probably with a +6 to his damage as a result of that. And because of his earth mastery, that's something he has inherent for being an earth elemental, he gets another +1 to his swing, which is pretty damn sweet. So again, he's doing real good for himself for just 2 attacks around. He has damage-wise, and +18, yes, 2d8, but +18 damage, so guaranteed 20 plus damage per hit. Pretty sweet. And again, he's really tough. If you had actually seen anyone swinging him, he had a 19 armor class because he has crappy dex and he's easier to hit because he's so big, but he has a natural armor that's huge. So again, another real loving reason for wanting the earth guy out. He is basically your tank. I mean, he really is. He's just that tough. And again, he had been hit. Where did that go? Yeah. Reduced to 0. So again, he must have some sort of damage reduction 5 or something against piercing, slashing, physical attacks. I don't know if they all have that, but definitely the earth guy does something. So he reduced the damage down to 0, so he didn't even take damage from the attack, which is good. These guys are fodder. It's not the point. It's still fun that he has some protection built into him. And
what a failure.
We could have summoned any of the other ones. And again, I can summon more than one. Just because you summon him doesn't mean you can't summon another. So you can have more than one being like a front wall, so to speak. Let's see. What else to show you real quick? There's not really much left to show you. You've already seen more of the same. I'll show you the DC checks, I suppose, on something like a grease spell. And talk about how it's fine and how it also straight up sucks. So that's right here. Okay.
That was easy.
Alright, Mr. Grease Spell. By the way, I should make a note that if you can't make a check, you scum save, and you can't make a check and you're running solo, do not just say, well, screw it, and run right through the thing and trigger the trap. You might level up and get another point in trickery. Obviously, 10 is our maximum, but you may, and another teammate could come by later and, disable the trap and get some XP from it. So don't trigger stuff just because you're frustrated, especially if you have the ability to do shit like this and say, you know what, fuck it, I need to get to the other side, that's good enough. I'll come back later when I've leveled up or my team, and of course. But the point is most times they won't have multiple traps in the damn corridor. So again, feel free to skip across them. Run around them if you can. In some cases, you can actually do that. So again, feel free to do stuff like that. Let's do
I do what I must. Strike! A test of my abilities.
Trap them in the door. What do you say? Remember, you are not protected from this. You don't have any wings. And we just hit a bunch of them with saving throws. DC of 19. So follow the math on it, okay? We have, first off, our +2 toggle is on, just so we're clear. So we have what? A level 1 spell, so 10 plus 1 is 11. 3 from our lame-ass charisma puts 11 up to 14. 2 from our toggle puts it at 16. Where's the other 3 come from? We have spell focus conjuration, and we have school power in conjuration, which is another +2. So we have a +3 because of that, so 16 jumps to 19. And that's it. Now, just so for some frame of reference, remember on a normal Arcane Bloodline build, I would have maximum charisma. That would be a 24. That's a +7 bonus. Okay, not +3 like we're wielding now, +7. So what would it be on that one? Just so we can backpedal a little, and then we're talking worst case scenario. So just a non-specialist where I'm not a conjuration specialist at all. I would have a level 1 spell, so a 10 + 1 is 11, and then +7 from my charisma puts it at 18. And again, I assume I went through Magus, so I could have that toggle on, so I could be at a 20 right now on the worst case scenario for my best charisma character. See what I'm saying when I say you're not amazing at conjuration? Just because we've invested in it doesn't mean you're great at it. Doesn't mean you suck. Clearly we had guys that failed the check, not a lot, but there's more than one, and then it's done its job. So, you know, you're okay. It's just, it's what it is. You're not going to be amazing at your spells because you did not invest in charisma. Just saying. And of course we failed the check, so screw you, man. But the point is, you know, you are okay at casting spells. You are just not my typical spellcaster for the Arcane Bloodline. You still hit strong. You still have the ability to intimidate and there catch opponents flat-footed. I don't have to have this DC check on. I can go for swinging if I want to. I can do spell pin if I want to. Again, conjuration lends itself to being a subcaster anyway because the beauty of many of those conjuration spells don't have a DC check, or like a summons, or they don't have spell resistance. Hell, if you look at your book, a grease spell, conjuration spell, no spell resistance. Glitter dust, conjuration spell, no spell resistance. Where's our other ones? Oh hell, I walked right past it. Snowball, no spell resistance, and it's a conjuration spell. So I'm saying there's plenty of reasons to like conjuration when you don't really have a lot in the way of spell pen. We're still okay. I mean, remember, we're level 20. We have a full 20 caster level, so 20 for spell pen, and I can make that jump to 22 by switching the toggle. That's not amazing, I'll grant you, but you're far from being crap. And again, you have other spells besides that are awesome. No spell resistance spells that aren't conjuration spells. So depends. Dragon's Breath, Shout, for instance. There's plenty of good spells that you'll have access to. Make sure that those are spells that you can buff. Again, another reason for me liking Empowered, because they're empowering the ones that I know that I would like to land. Now, having said that, you notice that Grease didn't get any buff. Snowball did. Glitter Dust didn't get any buff. And again, ways to make those ones buff, you could have done Extended Metamagic or Reach Metamagic. I would, of those two, suggest Extend. Not only because many of your conjuration spells, including your pet summons, can benefit from the longer duration, so can your buffs. Yes, many of our damaging spells won't get any bonus, but so what? You're really not going to land a lot of DC checks in this build anyway. So I wouldn't be building for DC. I'd be building, quite frankly, for the utility of the meta magic, having multiple castings of the same spell. And again, buffs are really good ones to want to have multiple castings. It would have been really nice to have 2 versions of Sense Vitals, 2 versions of Displacement, 2 versions of Greater Invis. You see what I'm saying? And same with your summon monster. So then really nice to have one of those lower level 5 version going up to level 6. I will show you just the, if I can get out of this goddamn mess, just the Axiomite version. Remember, we are neutral or good, so we're not getting the Soul Eater. So here is the, I'll even quick and magic it to not waste your time. Well, here, let's actually grab the Berlani Azatas. This is the random roll. So they like to cast mirror image on themselves. Lightning bolt all over the damn place. They just destroy stuff as a result of this, which is pretty damn cool. The downside is now that I need to take them with me, the little bastards will be behind me in my team, and as such, anywhere we go, they're going to literally be dragging their little lightning bolt casting asses behind me and my team, blasting the shit out of us. So again, slightly annoying. Again, if you're protected from electricity damage, I think these low level versions, as a matter of fact, I can actually prove it to you. Let's look at their lightning bolt damage. Okay, here we go. Yeah, 66 for these guys. For the bigger version, the Big Brother version, which I didn't summon, but I could, that's this Axiomite. Just one, they do, I want to say 96 of electric damage with their lightning bolt. So they're slightly better damage, but there's only one of them. So again, 66 times a bunch is still 66 times a bunch. Just saying. So there's reasons to love and hate these guys all at the same time. Obviously, you know, have to summon just those electric casting bastards. I do have dire wolves and a lot of them, so again, if I want to do a maximized version of that bastard, that's what, 6? Yeah, 6 wolves, dire wolves no less, out and about. It takes a full round to cast it, but it's still worth it. And again, I would invest in the magic rods for quickened, extend, empower, maximize, and have those on tap for when I want to buff something up. Other than that, guys, there's really not much more to tell. You guys know how to do stuff. I mean, here's just your chain of light spell. That's the paralysis spell. And again, we have at least a bonus to its swing, but again, compared to what I could have used with a max charisma character, the DC on this is garbage. Yes, with extra charisma bonuses and stuff, I can bump that up to another 5 more, so that could have been a solid 29. Okay, and there's probably gear out there that buffs concentration spells besides. Okay, but again, I'm trying to play catch up, and I could have gotten all those same things with a high charisma based character. Having said all that, is this character fun? Yes. Will it do the job? Sure. Will it be a good teammate? Hell yeah. Will it be great at soloing? No. You can solo, like I said in Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, and that's really about it. After that, you probably are going to be team heavy. Which is fine, because this is what the game has always been about, is you not being the special snowflake that can walk through and just take everything with one character. We got plenty of builds for that. I can show you how to do that any number of ways. And again, for those people that say, oh, you don't have enough touch armor class, I found the character again online. His name is Mithril. He hasn't posted in a while, but he has plenty of videos showing off his sorcerer who has crap for touch armor class, just owning this game as a soloist. Watch his videos. Trust me when I say that if you know how to cast, how to set up attacks, you don't need to have a high touch armor class to beat the game. He beat it with a sorcerer. He beat it with another sorcerer slash arcane tricks. No. Sorcerer slash Eldritch Knight, there it is, build. He's two-handed wielding, even though he sucks at two-handed wielding, just so he can get the benefits of both weapons in each hand. So if you have the magic weapon that, say, this one gives you plus armor, this one gives you freedom of movement as long as you have it equipped, he'll do that shit. And again, I use his tactics all the time. Same with the reason for why I do stuff like this. I learned it from him. Oh, here goes my lightning bolt casters. You know, like pull everyone to a goddamn corner, and then do your AoE moves like Sirocco. I learned that from his videos because literally it's just so easy just to set them up. You know, they walk to you because they're not smart, and the bad guys will literally walk into that cloud of just mess and just constantly fall down, and fall down. So it's just fun. He has really good videos for this. He can show you how to beat him. He doesn't talk through his videos, so you probably like him better than me. but he'll break down his builds. He has a build for the Eldritch Knight version, and then he has one for the straight up sorcerer. She was a gnome. He went crazy on his illusion DC checks so that he can do weird, which is a level 9 illusion spell, kind of like Phantasmal Killer, but on crack, where it's basically like AoE style. And he was downing bosses that everybody's like, oh, you will never survive this fight. You don't have enough touch armor class. Yeah, screw you. He just knows that they're going to be there because he's scum saved to that point. Realize that he's going to need to be protected, so he buffs up like crazy. He teleports into the area and immediately starts casting his spell, so when they appear, the 3 big bad guys, he hit them with weird AoE style, teammate friendly, and just nuked the bastards where they all failed their illusion saving throw and immediately got scared and died, which is just funny ass shit. So again, there's plenty of ways to do it. And again, just to repeat, the guy's name is Mithril, or Mithrils, Mithrals. If you find him on YouTube, trust me, you'll understand. It's the right guy. And he definitely knows what he's doing. So there's plenty of ways to do this game solo. Don't think that you have to be, you know, a paladin 2 or 4 or whatever to get the high, you know, saving throw bonuses thanks to your charisma. Be monking it up so you can have the monk robes and extra armor besides, and then go like a sorcerer or some other kind of charisma-based caster. You don't have to do that shit. You just need to be able to hit things and hit things a lot and hard. So again, the fact that he was a sorcerer was his saving grace. You can do that somewhat successfully with a purist true magus, because we have enough spells that are solid, like Sirocco being a fine example, Tar Pool being a fine example, Obsidian Flow, Fireball, Controlled Fireball. We have enough for a while. I'd say when you get to the end of the game, though, you don't have enough tricks, quite frankly. If you were a Magus that had that 1 level monk dip where your touch armor class is now through the roof. Hell yeah, you can do it. Why? Because your armor class is tough enough and you have decent enough attack bonus that you can self-buff up when the spells aren't working, just going with a different tactic. That's how that works. So again, viable. How do I feel about this character? He's fine. How do I feel about him compared to the Serpentine? The Serpentine one was better for intimidation checks. The Serpentine one was better for the type of spells that he got for free early on. And I love the fact that he had a couple enchantments, no less, that were decent spells. Hold Monster being a fine example. Hypnotism being a good spell early on, and then of course he outleveled the usefulness of it, but until he outleveled it, and he made soloing, I'm sure, with him real easy. So again, the pets, the enchantments, the extra armor, the immunity to poison spells makes him way better than this build early on. We catch up at level 9 and steadily from there when we start getting our free spells. But until then, no, he's definitely better. But we will pass him, and I still maintain that. With that, though, that's everything I want to say, guys. Sorry it took so long again. My name's Brothermutant. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me how you guys would change the build up. What spells would you do different? Would you take a different feat? Would you go for that Dreadful Carnage and lose endurance? Comment down below, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.